What's up, guys? Just here back on my channel tonight. Be doing a review for AEW Dynamite, so let's get to it then. It said right here, Excalibur informed us that the Death Riders attacked Switchblade Jay White before the show began. The beating was served enough that he is being treated now and has been um, pulled from the Tesla 25 Owen Hart Cup tournament. Alright, so first match coming up, John Moxley and Rhea Shafir versus Swerve Strickland and Willow Nightingale. So here you go. We hear the Marina's house drum Moxie theme music. The camera pans backstage where we see Mox and Marina Shafir, all of the Dead Riders in their gear and ready for action. They make their way to the ring and settle inside for the first match of the evening. Their music dies down, and Will Nightingale's upbeat, catchy interest tune plays. Next, makes her way out and stops the theme for her partner. Swerve Strickland plays next. Out he comes with Prince Nana. They head to the ring for the scheduled mixed trio tag match. Excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. Alright, before the bell even sounds, Shafir and Willow go after each other one side as Mox and Swerve brawl on the other, with the number contender being sent to the barricade before Mox walks over to intercept Willow. He and Marina then set up a table on the floor, only for Willow to cut Shafir off as Mox and Swerve continue brawling. With the ladies inside the ring and the bell has rung to officially kick this match off, they go at it until Willow has Marina in the corner while Swerve starts to fight on the outside. The pairs manage to swap places as Willow chases Marina on the outside while Mox lays into Swerve in the ring. Some boos from the crowd. Willow drives a boot into the face of Shafir while Swerve fights back. This sets Mox up for a missile dropkick from Nightingale that gets a pop. They continue the offense until Shafir comes in to intercept, sending Willow to the corner as Mox sends Strickland to the outside. He then assists Marina in beating down Willow against the ropes as Nana tries to get Swerve back into the mess. Willow is sent into the corner but starts fighting back. This continues until Shafir sets her up for a Death Rider by Mox, only for Swerve to get back in the ring, looking for a big pressure on Marina, as if to force Mox off what he has planned. Mox sorry guys. Mox finally let go of the double underhook, with Swerve letting go of Marina as they go back at it. And moments later, Marina sends Willow crashing through a table with authority for a huge pop. Only that note, the show shifts gears into a mid-match commercial break. When the show returns, the commentators inform us that it has all Death Riders dominating throughout the break. Mox gets a choke, but then Willow powerbombs Shafir on him to break things up. Swerve and Mox get into a big back and forth punching exchange. Swerve goes for a big spot, but Shafir pushes Mox out of the way. This results in Swerve knocking Shafir off cold. He looks shocked at first, but then a big smile settles on his face. The camera shot missed it, but Nightingale ran over and knocked Mox out the apron through a table at ringside. Seconds later, Nightingale and Swerve finish things up for the ring after Willow pins Shafir. After the match, Mox in true Desperately Heel fashion lays out Nightingale. He walks out, helps Shafir up, and they leave as Swerve and AEW officials check on Nightingale. Come on. Okay. So winners are Swerve Strickland and Will Nightingale. Alright, we have a video package thing that happened earlier today. Dax Harwood apologized to Cash Wheeler and AEW official Paul Turner. Alright, commentators recap Dax Harwood losing his cool and putting his hands on Paul Turner last week. If we shoot backstage live, Renee Paquette introduced Harwood. He insists on Turner being present as well. Harwood personally gives Turner $10,000. He was fined by AEW and apologizes. Turner says he understands it was in the heat of the moment. Harwood then turns to Cash Wheeler and apologizes for accidentally hitting him. He says he never purposely put his hands on him and that he thought he was an official. He vows to win the Trios title at AEW Dynasty 2025. He goes to hug Wheeler, who stops him. He says they are going to win the Trios title this weekend, but after that, they need to talk. He walks off by himself. Harwood apologizes one final time to Paquette as the show heads into another commercial break. Alright, I have the 2025 Owen Hart Cup tournament brackets announced. When the show returns, we head to commentary desk where it's Calvert, Tony Schiavone, and Taz bring up the 2025 One Heart Cup tournament. They then proceed to unveil the official brackets for the men's tournament and the women's tournament. The match listed for the opening rounds of the men's tourney features Will Ospreay versus Kevin Knight, Brody King versus Konosuke Takeshita, Mark Briscoe versus Kyle Fletcher, as well as Heyman Page versus Wildcard. For the women's tourney, the opening round will feature Jamie Hayter versus Billy Starks, Thunder Rosa versus Chris Stanlander, Julia Hart versus Mercedes Moné, Holly Cameron versus Athena. It's also announced that Mercedes Moné and Holly Cameron versus Athena and Julia Hart will take place on this week's AEW Collision, which will be taped tonight. So, yeah. Alright, next match coming out. Oh, shit. Yeah, Kimmy. I was doing so good. It's not you guys, it's the camera's messing up and stuff. So, anyways, next match coming out, Timeless Tony Storm versus Penelope Ford. Inside the arena, Timeless Tony Storm makes her way out to a pop from the crowd. Out next, Penelope Ford. The bell sounds official running the women's singles action in the next match of the evening. I thought what's her name was going to be ringside the whole entire time, but she isn't. I'm talking about Megan Bain. That's what I was trying to say. Anyway, Storm gets an early advantage as she sends Ford to the corner for some strikes, but Penelope fights back, sending Storm to the mat. Tony gets back to her feet, but it's just as quickly sent back as Ford takes control. On that note, the show shifts gears into a mid-match commercial break and stuff. So, yeah. When the show returns, Ford catches Tony with a handspring elbow, only for the champ to catch her with a bite on the tongue. Penelope breaks free to send her to the corner, but Storm fights back with the Lou Des Prez before sending Ford to the corner for a hip attack. She follows that up with a big DT that gets her a close 2 count. A modified STF hold catches Penelope in a bad position before she gets the rope to force a break. The action ends up on the outside as Ford catches Storm with a moonsault off the apron. Back in the ring, she gets another 2 count. Moments later, Storm takes over and ultimately takes out Ford with her Storm Zero finisher for the pinfall victory. Once the match wraps up, Storm's next title challenger, Megan Bain, makes her way out to stare down her opponent for the upcoming AEW Dynasty 2025 pay-per-view this weekend. So winner is Thomas Tony Storm. Alright, Swerve and stuff backstage. From there, we head backstage where Swerve Strickland gives an update on Willow Nightingale, who is being looked at by AEW doctors in the background while he talks. Swerve says Nightingale is strong, but addressing Mox for what he did while being fully aware of her history with neck issues. Swerve promises that by the end of the night, he will have his hands on Moxley. On that note, the show heads to another commercial break. Alright, we have a segment promo coming out with her Syndicate and MGF. You get a look at the week leading into All Night Tech Support heading to ringside where MVP and Bobby Lashley come out to a pop from the whatever crowd. Commentary talks about Shelton being unable to ride due to flight and weather issues as the other 2/3 of the Hurt Syndicate enter the ring. Before they can speak, MJF's music hits as he walks down the ramp. He teases signing a fan sign, but throws the marker away instead before he enters the ring, demanding they cut his music off. MJF a chance from the crowd as Freeman compliments the suit of MVP. He talks about Bob disrespecting him, but he'll let it slide because he doesn't know him like MVP knows him. MJF formally introduces himself before giving kudos to Benjamin and Lashley, but says Bobby is standing on the block he made. MJF says he can't help the tag champions hold onto the title as long as they please. He knows they can help him regain what belongs to him, the AEW World Championship. Alright, what he's saying is just good business. He tells Bobby they may not want MJF, but they need him, which gets Lashley flustered as he tells Freeman that out of respect for MVP, he is not going to lay the former champ out right now. Bobby says he doesn't like MJF and the Hurt Syndicate sure don't need him. MJF takes the hint, leaving the ring as the Syndicate get ready to leave the ring before the Learning Trees music hits, allowing the students of Chris Jericho a chance to stare down Lashley and MVP before heading to the ring for our next match. Alright, next match coming in, the Learning Tree versus 2 local talents. After a couple interaction, the Hurt Syndicate hang by on the entrance aisle. The bell sounds, and the learning tree duo immediately began to manhandle the two local nameless talents. Babel and Barney quickly make short work of their opponents. One of them gets launched way out of the ring, and at the feet of the Hurt Syndicate in the aisle. A strong kick from the Bad Apple then leads to a massive redwood choke slam from Bill for the pin. Once that wraps up, Big Bill gets a microphone to address beating Top Flight on Collision and beating these guys tonight, saying he and Keith won their match at Dynasty for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. MVP starts to respond, but Lashley cuts him off, and the pair lead to the back. So winners are the learning tree. All right, Hardy Cameron and all them were backstage. The CEO heads backstage. The show heads backstage where Renee Paquette is standing backstage with TBS champion, the CEO, Mercedes Monet. Monet talks about the women's Owen Hart tournament, which will see the current TBS champion face a former champ and Julia Hart at AEW Dynasty in the opening round. I saw my camera messing up. Anyways, the topic changes to the tag match on Collision before Hardy Cameron and her Mercedes puppet appear to pop from the crowd. Mercedes tries to run a team named by the CEO to no avail. Mercedes leaves as we cut away. The commentators remind everyone that Monet will team with Cameron to take on Athena and Julia Hart on this week's AEW Collision. Our next match coming up: Will Ospreay and Kevin Knight versus Blake Christian and Lee Johnson. Back inside the Pura Civic Center, the family sounds of Ospreay heads out comes Ariel Sassafras advertised return after missing the last couple weeks. He sells inside the square circle to a big pop from the Pura crowd. His music dies down. Theme for his partner hits and stuff. The Jet Kevin Knight comes out and stuff, and his opponents Blake Christian and Lee Johnson come out too. Ospreay and the bell sounds. Ospreay and Christian kick things off for respective teams. Blake catches Will with a side headlock, only to be taken down by the aerial assassin. He catches the former AEW National Champion by surprise, mocking him with the United Empire gesture before Knight makes a tag. Kevin takes Blake down for a near fall before Lee breaks it up, and chaos ensues until Lee and Blake take control before Ospreay intercepts. He and Kevin send their opponents to the outside for a pair of big dives, forcing them to the floor. They bring Blake back into the ring before Knight continues the attack. Johnson gets an assist, which allows Christian to shift the offensive momentum into his team's favor. On that note, show heads into a mid-match commercial break as the action continues. When the show returns, Ospreay begins fighting from underneath back into competitive form. Knight gets the hot tag and begins taking over as the crowd rallies behind them. Knight and Ospreay hit a crazy double team spot. Ospreay takes out Christian on the floor, and then Knight heads to the top row for his springboard lead for the pinfall victory. Excellent match. Afterwards, Tony Schiavone gets in the ring and informs the two that their announced opening round match in the 2025 Owen Hart Cup tournament will take place this weekend as part of the lineup for AEW Dynasty 2025. So winners are Will Ospreay and Kevin Knight. Next match coming up: Brody King versus Lance Archer. Pre-show backstage where the Ops trios are Samoa Joe, Hook, and Kishore Shibata are standing by. Joe talks for the group and reveals that they will be on hand at AEW Dynasty 2025. They warn the patriarchy not to be lacking when the time comes this weekend. On that note, a graphic promoting Brody King versus Lance Archer, which is coming up next. We head to another commercial break. When the show returns, we get right into the action as the theme for Brody King hits. Comes Zelson ring and music dies down. His opponent Lance Archer comes out next, accompanied by Dunkhouse as the two head to the ring. Callis notices a fan dressed up like him, and in the front he leans in and says something to him, and didn't look friendly. The bell sounds, and the meat madness begins as the two big boys begin trading shots back and forth in the middle of the ring. Meanwhile, the commentators ask Callis what he said to his lookalike moments ago. Callis confirms that it was in fact not a friendly conversation. Archer sends King out to the floor at ringside with authority. He follows he follows out after him, and King starts to take over. He lays Archer out and rolls him back in the ring. Callis loses his cool that the referee allowed that much offense to take place on the floor. He leaves the commentary desk and heads to the apron. King catches him coming, but when he turns to deal with him, he is attacked from behind by Archer, who is now uh, back in a comfortable offensively. Back on the floor, Archer sends King into the steel ring steps with vengeance. Cows didn't seem to mind that one. Archer bounces King's face off the commentary desk, and on that note, the show has to mid-match country break as the Meat Madness action continues. When the show returns after some more back forward action, King picks up the victory. So winner is Roy King. Alright, main event time. Finally, Cope versus Claudio Castagnoli. Main event time. But first, the AEW Dynamite commentary trio run down the update advertised lineup for the AEW 2025 pay-per-view this weekend. As official match graphics flash across the screen, they plug the upcoming main event, and then show heads to a commercial break. When the show returns, the variant sounds of the iconic theme for music, the theme music for Cope hits, and out comes the Radar Superstar. He continues to be the latest sing-along entrance wrestler in business. As long after he sells in the ring, his music dies down. Fans are still singing a cappella. Cope like that. As always, the theme for Claudio hits. Claudio Casanova hits, and out comes 1/3 the AEW uh, trios champions and member of the Death Riders through the crowd. He heads to ring with the death glare in his eyes, clocked in and laser focus on Cope in the ring. The bell sounds official ring with our final match of the evening on this the AEW Dynasty 2005 Go Home Show episode of AEW Dynamite. The two brawl before the bell. Cope agrees that he's okay. The bell sounds and Cassidy goes right back to stomping Cope down in the corner. They brawl on the outside of the ring and then head back inside where Casanova takes over and settles into offensively after sending Cope to the floor with authority once again. The show shifts gears into a mid-match cruiserweight as the main event of the evening continues. When the show returns after several additional minutes of back-and-forth action, things works its way to conclusion of the match, which sees Cope hit a spear on Casanova for the pinfall victory. So winner is Cope. Alright, main event segment time. Yep, I have a segment coming out after the show, after the main event's over. So here we go. Backstage, Renee Paquette attempts to catch up with Swerve Strickland for an update on Mrs. Parmas to get his hands on Jon Moxley for what he did to Willow Nightingale. Swerve talks to Paquette that no offense, but he's looking for her husband right now. Damn. He continues walking in the halls looking for him. Heyman Page walks up in intense fashion with a bunch of security trailing behind him. They catch up and hold the two apart as Heyman reminds Swerve of his promise to make sure he never holds another title in AEW again. Swerve mentions Heyman breaking in and burning his house down. Heyman says he deserved it. To which Swerve unexpected shouts back, "I know." Heyman confused yells back, "What did you say?" The two both calm down and Swerve repeats, "I said I know." Heyman turns and walks off. Swerve continues looking for Mox and is ambushed out of nowhere by the Dead Riders. They beat him down and then Mox tells them to drag his ass to the ring. They do exactly that. Once in the ring, they break up and crunch a bunch of glass and then powerbomb Swerve onto it. They head off through the crowd, but literally within seconds, Swerve is sitting up like the Undertaker in his prime with an evil ass look in his eyes as he glares at the Death Riders. The commentators promote the Swerve versus Mox showdown for the AEW Championship and other matches for the AEW Dynasty 2005 pay-per-view this weekend as the Go Home Show episode of AEW Dynamite goes out there and stuff. So yeah, so a good show tonight. It was okay and stuff. He said Royal Osprey match was kind of good and stuff. So yeah, but man, that's crazy. It was kind of crazy though. Earlier tonight and stuff. So yeah. Anyways, I was for the Go Home Show for AEW Dynamite and stuff. So I'm sorry, they kind of almost sound alike. So yeah. Anyways, that was it for this video. Hope you like it, and not whatever and stuff. So like, subscribe, hit the button, leave a comment. If you guys don't leave a comment stuff, I don't care what you guys do or whatever. That was it. I'll see you guys in the next video for Friday Night SmackDown. Alright? Laters.